Elijah Brooks sits at the edge of the conference table, posture upright, laptop open in front of him. Around him, executives exchange glances, their faces lit by the sterile glow of overhead LEDs. Vincent Hale leans back in his chair, rolling, his pen between his fingers, a faint smile playing on his lips. The room is filled with a quiet tension, the kind that settles in when everyone knows who holds the power and who is expected to stay quiet. Vincent finally speaks, his tone casual but cutting. "We're not here to run a charity, Brooks. Real innovation makes money." His words hang in the air, drawing a few forced chuckles from the far end of the table. Elijah's hands remain steady, but his eyes narrow just a fraction. He replies, voice calm, "This isn't charity. It's about building something that matters." The room shifts, a subtle discomfort passing between the executives. One woman adjusts her glasses, another glances at her phone, pretending to check an email that isn't there. The glass walls reflect the scene back at them, distorting Elijah's image, making him look smaller, almost out of place. A junior developer, seated near the wall, scribbles notes in a battered notebook, not daring to look up. Vincent's smile tightens. "We have to be realistic," he says, "and your idea, while interesting, isn't what we're looking for." The dismissal is swift, almost routine. Elijah closes his laptop with deliberate care, the sound sharp in the quiet room. He stands, meeting Vincent's gaze with a steady calm. "Thank you for your time," he says, voice even, betraying nothing. As Elijah walks out, the executives avoid his eyes. Vincent turns to the next agenda item, his voice strained. The camera lingers on Elijah's empty chair, the glass walls now feeling more like barriers than windows. The illusion of inclusion is shattered, replaced by the unmistakable sense that something important has been lost. Elijah stands at the front of the room, his presentation slides glowing behind him. He speaks with quiet confidence, outlining his vision for an app that connects underserved communities to resources. As he finishes, Vincent leans forward, a faint chuckle escaping. "We're not a charity, Elijah. Real innovation makes money." The words are sharp, meant to wound and dismiss at once. A few executives shift in their seats, some hiding discomfort behind polite smiles. Elijah's hands remain steady, his voice calm as he responds, "Profit and impact aren't opposites." Vincent waves a hand, impatient. "We need ideas that move the bottom line, not dreams that belong in a non-profit." The dismissal is swift, almost rehearsed. Elijah's proposal is set aside, the conversation moving on as if nothing important was lost. A senior manager glances at Elijah, her lips pressed together in a thin line. She wants to say something, but the moment passes. A young developer at the end of the table scribbles in his notebook, head down, unwilling to meet Elijah's eyes. The power dynamic is clear. Those who speak out risk being next. Elijah gathers his notes, his movements measured and deliberate. He meets Vincent's gaze, searching for any sign of doubt or regret, but finds only indifference. "Thank you for considering my idea," Elijah says, voice even, refusing to let the moment break him. Vincent nods, already looking past him to the next presenter. As Elijah leaves the room, the executives avoid his eyes. The glass walls, once symbols of transparency, now feel like barriers. Elijah's reflection in the glass is fractured, but his posture remains unbroken. The quiet dismissal stings, but it also steals his resolve. He walks away with his dignity intact, knowing the real loss isn't his. Elijah stands, gathering his laptop and notes with slow, deliberate movements. The glass walls of the conference room catch his reflection from every angle, fragmented, layered, yet unmistakably present. Vincent's laughter floats in from the hallway, a reminder of the power that has always seemed just out of Elijah's reach. But Elijah's gaze remains steady, meeting his own eyes in the glass, refusing to shrink. A junior developer in the corner jots something in his notebook, head down, unwilling to meet anyone's gaze. A senior executive shifts in her chair, discomfort flickering across her face as she watches Elijah prepare to leave. The air in the room feels denser, as if everyone senses the cost of what's just happened, but no one wants to name it. Elijah pauses, his hand resting on the door handle. He turns, voice quiet but unwavering. "My value isn't measured by your approval." The words are simple, but they land with weight. No one responds. Vincent's smile has faded, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty as he glances at Elijah, then quickly looks away. The glass walls, once meant to symbolize openness, now reveal the true nature of the environment, one that distorts and fragments the worth of those who don't fit the mold. Elijah's reflection in the glass is no longer just a background detail. It becomes the focus, a symbol of resilience and potential that refuses to be erased. He steps out, the door closing softly behind him. The room is left with its own distorted reflection, forced to confront what it chooses to overlook. Elijah walks down the hallway, his posture unbroken, the quiet dignity in his steps a silent challenge to the system that tried to minimize him. Elijah stands tall at the threshold of the conference room, his eyes never leaving Vincent's. The tension in the air is unmistakable, thick enough that even the most oblivious executive can't ignore it. Elijah's voice is quiet, but every syllable lands with purpose. "You'll regret passing on this." The words are not a threat, not a plea, just a simple truth, delivered without anger or bravado. The room freezes. Vincent's practiced smile slips, replaced by a brief, unguarded flash of uncertainty. He shifts in his chair, clearing his throat, but no clever retort comes this time. Around the table, executives exchange wary glances. A senior manager taps her pen against a stack of papers, the rhythm betraying her unease. The junior developer, in the corner, usually invisible, sits up straighter, eyes wide as if realizing something fundamental has shifted. For a moment, the usual hierarchy feels unstable, the old rules no longer certain. Elijah collects his things with deliberate calm, his movements unhurried. He pauses at the door, glancing back just once. "This isn't the end," he says, his tone steady, almost gentle. The door closes behind him, the sound echoing down the hall. It's not a slam, not a gesture of defiance, but it resonates all the same, a quiet punctuation mark at the end of a chapter. Vincent exhales, the air leaving him in a rush. He runs, a hand through his hair, the confident persona slipping further away. The executives begin to shift in their seats, some murmuring softly, others staring at the door Elijah just exited. The balance of power has changed, and everyone in the room feels it, even if they can't name it yet. Elijah's footsteps fade down the corridor, but the impact lingers. The glass walls reflect the unsettled faces left behind, the illusion of control finally cracking. Outside, the world moves on, unaware that inside this room, something irreversible has begun. The door closes behind Elijah, the soft click echoing in the suddenly still conference room. Every executive is frozen in place, the usual shuffle of papers and murmured side comments replaced by a heavy, unyielding pause. Vincent stares at the spot where Elijah stood, his jaw clenched, one hand gripping the armrest of his chair until his knuckles pale. The junior developer at the end of the table, who had barely looked up during the meeting, now sits motionless, pen hovering above a blank page. A senior manager glances at her phone, then quickly sets it aside, as if the device itself carries the weight of what just happened. No one speaks. The air is thick with a new kind of uncertainty, the kind that comes when the expected script is torn up and something unpredictable takes its place. Vincent clears his throat, a brittle sound in the quiet. "Next agenda item," he says, but his voice lacks its usual authority. The words fall flat, met with silence and a few uneasy glances. The power dynamic has shifted and everyone feels it, even those who can't quite articulate why. As the meeting limps forward, the empty chair at the table seems to draw every eye. It's not just a missing person, it's a reminder of the challenge that was issued and the confidence that walked out the door. The glass walls, once symbols of openness and progress, now feel like a barrier, trapping the executives in a room with their own discomfort and doubt. In the hallway, Elijah's footsteps fade, but the impact lingers. The system that once felt unbreakable now seems fragile, exposed. The executives exchange glances, each wondering if they just witnessed the start of something they can't control. Outside, the world continues as usual, but inside this room, nothing will ever be quite the same. Elijah sits alone in his small apartment, the glow from his laptop screen painting shifting shadows across the walls. His fingers hover over the keyboard, hesitating as memories surge, sharp, unwelcome. He's back at that college hackathon, the air thick with anticipation, the hum of voices, the clatter of keyboards. Elijah's project was the clear winner, his code elegant and efficient. But when the announcer called the results, it was his white classmate's name that echoed through the hall. The applause felt distant. The professor wouldn't meet his eyes, just offered a dismissive shrug, as if Elijah's effort had never existed. Back in the present, Elijah's jaw tightens. He closes his eyes for a moment, letting the sting of betrayal fuel his resolve. He opens a new file, his fingers moving with renewed purpose, each keystroke a quiet act of defiance. The tapping becomes a steady rhythm, determination building line by line. His phone vibrates on the desk. A message from Dr. Linda Mensa, his old mentor, lights up the screen. "Keep pushing. Your work will speak." Elijah allows himself a faint smile, the words a lifeline in a world that too often tried to erase him. The scene shifts. Rosa, a Latina engineer, stands in a dim office, staring at a whiteboard where her AI concept was wiped away, replaced by a colleague's weaker idea. Later she finds Elijah in the hallway, slipping him a USB drive. Her whisper is urgent. "Make it count." She walks away, her shoulders set in quiet defiance. Back at his apartment, Elijah's app begins to take form. The screen displays a digital map, neighborhoods glowing, each one a promise of connection and access. His rebellion isn't loud, but it's relentless. Every line of code is a response to the injustices he's endured, a silent rage, transformed into something that can't be ignored. Rosa stands in the dimly lit conference room, her eyes fixed on the whiteboard where her AI concept once flourished. Now the space is marked by erasures and scribbles, her idea replaced by a watered-down version credited to another. The weight of invisibility presses on her shoulders, but she remains composed. Later, in a quiet hallway, Rosa slips a USB drive into Elijah's hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "Make it count," she urges, her gaze fierce with determination. The gesture is small but powerful, a silent act of solidarity in a world that often sidelines voices like theirs. Back in her office, Rosa watches the door, aware of the risk she's taking. Her fingers tap nervously on the desk, a rhythm of hope and fear. The stolen idea is more than a professional slight. It's a symbol of the systemic barriers that keep innovation from those who don't fit the mold. Elijah, in his apartment, plugs in the USB drive, the screen lighting up with lines of code that pulse with potential. The collaboration is quiet, but revolutionary, a merging of talents that defies the erasure they've both faced. The scene closes on Rosa's determined face, a quiet promise that their work will not be forgotten or dismissed. The camera lingers on the USB drive, a small object carrying the weight of stolen dreams and the power of reclaimed voices. Marcus, the night janitor, moves quietly through the office, his footsteps muffled on the carpet. He pauses by a desk littered with papers, empty coffee cups, and a half-written resignation letter crumpled near the edge. The words, "I'm tired of being invisible," catch his eye. He smooths the page, reading the pain etched in hurried pen strokes. The letter isn't addressed to anyone, but the message is clear, a plea for acknowledgement in a place that rarely offers it. Marcus folds the letter carefully, slipping it into his pocket. He glances around, making sure no one sees. The office is empty, but the weight of the letter makes the space feel crowded with unspoken stories. He finishes his rounds, but the words linger, echoing in every quiet corner. The next morning, Marcus finds Elijah at his desk, headphones on, eyes tired but focused. He waits until Elijah looks up, then slides the letter across the table. Their eyes meet, and for a moment, no words are needed. Marcus nods, a silent show of solidarity. Elijah reads the letter, his expression tightening. He recognizes the handwriting. A colleague who left without fanfare, another casualty of a system that erases more than it uplifts. Elijah tucks the letter into his notebook, the message fueling his resolve. Marcus returns to his cart, pausing to glance back. The exchange is brief, but it shifts something in both men, a quiet understanding that they are not alone in their struggle. The scene ends with Marcus pushing his cart down the hallway, the letter safe in Elijah's hands. The office, once indifferent, now holds a secret, one that refuses to be buried. The burden of invisibility is shared, and with it, the first spark of change. The office glows with the pale light of computer screens, shadows stretching across the desks. Elijah sits quietly, scrolling through a string of internal emails. His jaw tightens as each message reveals a deeper rot. Executives trading jokes, dismissing diversity as little more than a marketing ploy. One line stops him cold. Diversity hires are just for show, not profit. The words sting, echoing in his thoughts as he leans back, the reality of the company's culture settling like a weight on his chest. Rosa stands nearby, arms folded, her face drawn with frustration. She catches Elijah's eye and nods, a silent acknowledgement of the battle they both fight. Jamal, the security guard, walks past, pausing to offer a brief nod of support. No words are exchanged, but the gesture is enough, a reminder that they are not alone in this. Elijah's fingers hover over the keyboard, uncertain. He glances at the emails again, then forwards them to a trusted contact outside the company. They think this is just business. It's not. It's personal, he mutters, voice barely above a whisper. At a nearby desk, a junior analyst sips her coffee, her hand trembling as she reads over his shoulder. The fear in her eyes is clear, but there's something else too, a flicker of hope that maybe, finally, the truth will come out. In his office, Vincent closes the door, the usual confidence gone from his posture. He slumps in his chair, brow furrowed, the weight of his own words pressing down. The shield of arrogance has started to crack, and he knows it. Elijah turns to the window, city lights blurring in the rain. His reflection is calm, determined. The emails are more than just words. They are evidence, a weapon against the invisible barriers that have always held him back. The system has been exposed and nothing will ever be the same. The room is dim, lit only by the glow of multiple screens. Elijah sits hunched over his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard with quiet determination. The hum of the city outside is distant, a world unaware of the revolution taking shape in this small apartment. Rosa's code merges seamlessly with Elijah's, their collaboration a silent act of defiance against the barriers they've faced. The app's interface slowly comes to life. A digital map highlighting underserved neighborhoods, each glowing dot a beacon of hope. Elijah pauses, eyes scanning the lines of code, then smiles faintly. This is more than software. It's a lifeline. The clatter of keys becomes a rhythm, a quiet rebellion against the system that tried to erase them. A notification pops up. Jamal, the security guard, has just signed up to beta test. Elijah leans back, the weight of the moment settling in. This is no longer just a project. It's a movement. Rosa's voice crackles softly over the speaker. We're on to something real. Elijah nods, fingers poised to continue. The night stretches on, each line of code a step toward justice. The camera lingers on the glowing screen, the map pulsing gently, a symbol of connection and change. Outside, the city sleeps, unaware that a quiet storm is building. Jamal stands in the break room, the overhead light flickering as he scrolls through the new app on his phone. His thumb pauses over a feature connecting families to local food banks. He breathes out, a slow, shaky exhale, and a smile tugs at the corner of his mouth. This matters, he says quietly. the words catching in his throat. He waves over Maria from the cleaning crew, her arms full of supplies. "You gotta see this," he urges, holding out his phone. Maria's eyes widen as she taps through the interface, her fingers lingering on a section for after-school programs. "My nephew could use this," she whispers, hope flickering across her face. Jamal nods, his own sense of purpose swelling. Back at his security desk, Jamal's posture is different. He sits up straighter, watching the steady stream of employees and visitors with new eyes. The app has shifted something inside him. He's no longer just keeping the building safe, but connecting people to real help. Each notification, each new user, feels like a small victory. He glances at Elijah's name in the app's credits and smiles, pride warming his chest. A supervisor passes by, raising an eyebrow at Jamal's phone. Jamal just nods, the confidence in his eyes unmistakable. "It's a good thing," he says simply, and the supervisor moves on, curiosity piqued. Later, as Jamal finishes his shift, he looks around the lobby with a renewed sense of belonging. The app isn't just a tool, it's a bridge, and he's part of building it. Elijah's words echo in his mind. "Your work matters." Jamal holds on to that, feeling the truth of it for the first time. He pockets his phone, the weight of it grounding him. The night feels different, charged with possibility. One man, one app, and a ripple of change that starts with a single download. Tasha, a young black intern, leans in close to Elijah after the meeting, her voice barely above a breath. "This always happens. They take what's ours and make it theirs." The words are heavy, carrying the history of ideas claimed, credit lost, and ambition quietly stifled. Elijah meets her gaze, his expression calm but determined. "Not this time," he answers, his voice steady, each word a promise that echoes louder than any outburst. The office buzzes around them, phones ringing, keyboards tapping. But for a moment the world narrows to their exchange. A nearby colleague glances over, her eyes flickering between fear and hope, as if weighing whether to believe that change is possible. Tasha's warning lingers, not just for Elijah, but for everyone who's ever watched their work repackaged and praised in someone else's hands. Elijah doesn't argue or reassure with empty words. Instead, he lets his presence do the talking. His silence is not defeat, but a shield, a quiet stand against the pattern Tasha named. He returns to his desk, the glow of his computer screen illuminating his face as he reviews the app's progress. Each update, each new feature, is a step forward, a refusal to let the cycle repeat. As the day winds down, Tasha passes by his desk, offering a nod of respect. The connection between them is unspoken but strong, a recognition that they're not alone in this fight. Elijah's focus sharpens, the whispered warning fueling his resolve. The scene closes on his determined expression, the quiet strength in his eyes reflecting not just resistance, but the belief in a future he's determined to build, one where their work can finally speak for itself. The office is buzzing, but not with the usual morning chatter. Phones vibrate on desks, screens light up with notifications, and a ripple of unease sweeps through the open-plan floor. Elijah sits at his workstation, eyes fixed on his monitor as a link pops up in the team chat. He clicks and the image loads, a screenshot from an internal message thread. Vincent's words are there for everyone to see, sarcastic, dismissive, mocking Elijah's pitch with a string of emojis and a flippant, "Let's leave the charity work to the non-profits." A hush falls over the room. Rosa, standing by the printer, catches Elijah's eye. Her jaw tightens, but she gives him a nod of solidarity. Jamal, making his rounds, pauses by the security desk, reading the messages over a colleague's shoulder. "That's just wrong," he mutters, shaking his head. A junior analyst at the far end of the room glances nervously at the managers, unsure whether to speak up or stay quiet. The leadership team retreats into a glass-walled office, blinds drawn, voices raised in urgent debate. For the first time, the usual hierarchy feels fragile, exposed by the very technology they built. Elijah's phone buzzes with texts, Some supportive, some apologetic, some just stunned. He doesn't respond. Instead, he sits back, letting the weight of the moment settle. The truth is out, and there's no taking it back. Vincent's confidence has vanished. His office door slams shut, the sound echoing across the floor. The atmosphere has changed. The old rules no longer apply, and everyone senses it. Elijah's quiet dignity stands in sharp contrast to the panic rippling through management. The screenshot is more than gossip. It's a catalyst, a public reckoning that can't be ignored or swept away. Rosa sits at her desk, phone in hand, her thumb hovering over the post button. The screenshot of Vincent's mocking message is open on her screen, and her heart pounds with a mix of fear and determination. She glances around the office. Some colleagues look away. Others meet her gaze with silent encouragement. She types, "Watch what happens when you underestimate us." Code for change, and taps to send. Within minutes, her tweet begins to spread. Notifications flood in. Retweets, likes, comments from strangers and industry leaders alike. The hashtag Code for Change trends across the city, then the country. Messages pour in from coders, activists, and students, each one echoing the same sentiment. "We see you. We're with you." Elijah sees the tweet on his feed, a small smile breaking through his usually reserved expression. He sends Rosa a simple message, "Thank you." Across the office, Jamal nods at his phone, pride flickering in his eyes. Even Maria, usually quiet and reserved, shares the post with her community group, her voice steady as she explains its importance. The energy in the office shifts. Executives huddle in corners, whispering frantically. Vincent's office remains closed, blinds drawn tight. The staff, once hesitant to speak, now share stories and screenshots, their voices growing louder with each new notification. Outside the building, a local news crew sets up, drawn by the online uproar. The company's polished image has cracked, and the world is watching. Rosa's tweet is more than a call-out. It's a spark, igniting a movement that refuses to be silenced. Elijah looks out the window, the city alive with possibility. The app's downloads surge, each one a vote of confidence in the vision he and Rosa refuse to abandon. The viral moment is not just noise. It's the beginning of real, lasting change. The newsroom is alive with chatter as a tech reporter reads Rosa's tweet aloud, her voice cutting through the hum. "The app Silicon Valley tried to bury," she says, typing the headline with a sense of urgency. Within hours, the story is everywhere. Blogs, podcasts, and evening news segments. Screens in coffee shops and subway stations flash with Elijah's face and the app's logo, the story spreading faster than anyone expected. Back in the office, Elijah's inbox fills with messages from investors, journalists, and community leaders. Some emails are offers, money, partnerships, promises. Others are simple thank yous from people who finally feel seen. Elijah scans the messages, his expression thoughtful, weighing each one carefully. He ignores Vincent's sudden, desperate offer to buy in. Instead, he replies with a single line, "Too late." Rosa reads the headlines at her desk, her hands trembling with pride and relief. Jamal calls his mother, telling her, "We did it. People are listening." Maria gathers, her community group, showing them the app on her phone, her voice confident as she explains how it works. The office is buzzing, but the energy is different, hopeful, electric, alive. Vincent paces in his office, watching the news cycle spiral out of his control. The blinds are still drawn, his phone silent except for a few terse texts from the board. The old power structure feels brittle, exposed. Elijah looks up from his screen, meeting Rosa's eyes across the room. No words are needed. The world has noticed, and there's no turning back. The app's downloads skyrocket, each new user a testament to the vision that nearly got dismissed. The media spotlight is no longer a threat. It's a validation, a promise that their work matters and that the tides have finally begun to turn. The boardroom is tense. the usual order shattered by a storm of headlines and angry emails. Vincent stands at the head of the table, suit jacket off, hair slightly disheveled. He gestures sharply at a stack of printed articles, his voice strained. "We need to control this narrative now." His words bounce off the walls, failing to inspire the usual obedience. Around the table, board members exchange uneasy glances. One taps a pen against her notebook, another checks his phone under the table, scrolling through the latest social media uproar. The PR director's hands tremble as she flips through a crisis plan, her voice barely steady. "We're trending everywhere, Vincent. The investors want answers. Staff are leaking screenshots. We can't just bury this." Vincent's jaw tightens. "We built this company on innovation. We can't let one disgruntled coder—" He stops, realizing the old excuses no longer hold weight. A junior executive, usually silent, speaks up, voice quiet but clear. "It's not just one person. It's everyone who's been overlooked. They're all speaking out now." The room falls into a heavy pause. Vincent paces, frustration etched across his face. He tries to rally the team, but the old confidence is gone. The board members look past him, their loyalty wavering. One quietly slips out, phone pressed to her ear. Her eyes meet Elijah's name on the news app as she dials. The atmosphere is thick with anxiety and doubt. The empire Vincent built feels suddenly fragile, the foundation cracking beneath the weight of truth. The power he once wielded so easily now slips through his fingers, replaced by a rising sense of panic. The boardroom, once a fortress, is now a cage, and Vincent is left grasping for control that no longer exists. Elijah sits at his desk, the glow of his laptop illuminating a flood of new messages. Each one is a story, a voice that had been waiting for someone to listen. A single mother writes, "I found affordable childcare because of your app. I can finally work full-time." A veteran shares, "For the first time, I got help without being judged. Thank you." The words are simple, but their impact is immense. He scrolls through more notes, students accessing scholarships, families discovering food banks, elders reconnecting with lost relatives. Each testimonial is a quiet victory, proof that the app is more than code. It's a bridge. Rosa stops by his desk, reading over his shoulder. Her eyes well with tears, pride and relief mingling in her smile. "We did this," she whispers, squeezing his hand. Jamal calls in during his shift, his voice full of emotion. "You should see the kids, Elijah. They're signing up their families. They're dreaming bigger." Maria sends a photo of her nephew beaming at a new laptop, the caption reading, "He believes he can do anything now." Across the city, the app's impact ripples outward. Community leaders share screenshots in meetings, teachers recommend it to parents, and local news. Anchors highlight the stories on air. The movement is no longer just digital. It's real, woven into the fabric of everyday life. Elijah leans back, overwhelmed but grateful. He realizes that every late night, every rejection, every quiet act of defiance led to this moment. The key: testimonials aren't just feedback. They are proof of change, validation that the fight was worth it. The system that tried to silence him is now being rewritten by the very people it once dismissed. The app's success is not measured in downloads, but in lives transformed, one story at a time. The conference hall is packed, rows of chairs filled with industry leaders, journalists, and hopeful young coders. The air is thick with anticipation, but beneath it runs a current of unease. Vincent stands backstage tugging at his collar, eyes darting to the screens, flashing, "Ruo, code for change." He forces a confident grin as he steps out, but the applause is scattered, polite at best. As Vincent approaches the podium, conversations ripple through the audience. "Did you see the story?" someone whispers. That's Elijah's app. A group of students in the front row lean forward, phones ready to record. A senior executive from a rival firm glances at her watch, unimpressed. The spotlight feels harsher than usual. Every movement magnified. Vincent clears his throat, trying to project authority. "Welcome, everyone. Today, we celebrate innovation. His words are met with a few nods, but many eyes are fixed on their screens, following the trending hashtag instead of his speech. The tension builds with every sentence, the crowd's attention slipping away. Backstage, Elijah waits, hands folded, listening to the distant hum of the crowd. A staffer leans in, whispering, "They're here for you." Elijah nods, his composure unshaken, but his heart pounds with the weight of what's coming. Vincent's voice falters as he senses the shift. He glances at the teleprompter, then at the restless audience. A journalist in the third row types furiously, capturing the mood. The energy in the room is unmistakable, change is in the air, and Vincent is no longer in control. As he wraps up his opening remarks, the applause is tepid. The crowd's focus has already moved on, the old guard's authority slipping away, with each restless murmur. The stage is set for a reckoning, and everyone knows it. Backstage is a flurry of movement, staffers with clipboards, techs checking microphones, the low thrum of the crowd seeping through the walls. Elijah stands quietly in the corner, shoulders squared, jacket buttoned, waiting for his cue. A young staffer approaches, her voice a hurried whisper. "You're on the list now. They didn't expect you to show." Elijah's eyes meet hers, steady and unwavering. "They always underestimate," he replies, a calm certainty in his tone. He glances around at the unfamiliar faces, some offering quick nods, others avoiding his gaze. The technician fumbles with Elijah's mic, hands shaking slightly. "You're the guy from the news, right?" he asks, not quite meeting Elijah's eyes. Elijah offers a small, reassuring smile. "Just here to talk about work." The technician nods, relief flickering across his face. A rival company's executive walks by, pausing to glance at Elijah with a mix of curiosity and respect. "Big day," she says, her voice low. Elijah nods. "For all of us." The words hang between them, heavy with meaning. The intern who's been watching from the sidelines steps forward, her phone in hand. "My friends are out there. They're rooting for you." Elijah's smile widens just a bit, gratitude in his eyes. The stage manager signals, and Elijah moves toward the curtain, each step purposeful. He pauses, taking a deep breath, the sounds of the audience swelling on the other side. He thinks of every door that's closed, every meeting where he was passed over, every time his ideas were dismissed. Now the moment is his. He steps out into the lights, the crowd's murmur rising as they recognize him. Phones lift, flashes blink. Elijah stands at the podium, scanning the faces, some skeptical, some hopeful, all waiting. He begins, voice clear and strong. "Innovation isn't about who you are. It's about what you do when no one believes in you." The room stills, the tension shifting. Vincent, watching from the wings, feels the shift as well, his grip on, the old narrative slipping with every word Elijah speaks. Vincent steps up to the podium, straightening his tie, eyes darting over the restless crowd. He forces a smile, the kind that doesn't reach his eyes, and taps the microphone. "We're here to celebrate progress and new ideas," he begins, his voice echoing through the hall. "At our company, we encourage innovation from every corner." The statement lands flat, met with a few polite claps and several skeptical glances. A journalist in the front row leans forward, eyebrow raised, typing furiously on her tablet. A group of young coders exchange looks, their skepticism clear. Vincent's words sound rehearsed, lacking conviction. He continues, "Diversity is at the heart of what we do. We believe that different perspectives drive the best results." His gaze flickers to the side of the stage where Elijah stands waiting, calm and composed. In the audience, a senior developer shakes his head, whispering to the colleague beside him, "He never listened before. Why start now?" The comment is quiet, but the sentiment ripples through the rows. Vincent glances at his notes, searching for the right line, but his confidence falters when he sees the audience's disinterest. He tries to recover. "We've always supported our team's dreams, no matter where they come from." But the applause is scattered, tepid. Rosa, watching from the wings, folds her arms, her expression unreadable. Jamal, seated near the back, leans forward, his focus on Elijah, not Vincent. Vincent's speech winds down, his words growing more strained. As the crowd's attention drifts, he forces a laugh, trying to lighten the mood, but it only highlights the disconnect. The energy in the room has shifted. The old assurances no longer hold power. As he steps away from the podium, Vincent's shoulders sag, the applause already fading. He glances at Elijah, realizing too late that the narrative has moved beyond him. The spotlight clicks on, casting a sharp circle of light on Elijah as he steps onto the stage. The murmurs in the crowd fade into a heavy hush, the weight of expectation pressing down. His eyes sweep the room, faces of skeptics, supporters, and the indifferent alike. He stands tall, shoulders squared, calm before the storm. He taps the microphone, the sound echoing in the vast hall. The silence stretches, thick and charged, as if the room itself is holding its breath. Elijah's voice breaks through, steady and clear, but not loud. Each word deliberate, carrying the quiet power of someone who has fought too long to be ignored. Innovation isn't about who you are, he begins, eyes locking with those in the front rows. It's about what you do when no one believes in you. A few heads nod, a subtle shift in the atmosphere. The camera pans to Vincent, whose confident facade tightens, lips pressed thin. The old guard feels the ground shift beneath them. Behind Elijah, the screen lights up with images of communities connected, lives changed. The crowd leans in, phones raised, capturing the moment. The tension breaks, replaced by a ripple of applause, tentative at first, then growing. Elijah steps back, letting the work speak. No grand gestures, no raised voice, just the undeniable truth of his vision. The room exhales, the storm quietly gathering strength. The scene closes on Elijah's calm face, a beacon of resilience and change, as the silence before the storm gives way to a new dawn. The spotlight sharpens as Elijah stands center stage, the crowd's restless murmur fading into a heavy silence. His eyes scan the room, faces of skeptics, supporters, and those caught in between. He breathes in, steady and calm, the weight of years pressing lightly but firmly on his shoulders. Innovation isn't who you are, he begins, voice low but clear. It's what you do when no one believes in you. The words hang in the air, a quiet thunder that ripples through the audience. A board member's pen freezes mid-note. A journalist's fingers pause above a keyboard. Vincent's jaw tightens, his confident mask slipping just enough to reveal the strain beneath. Around the room, subtle shifts occur. Heads nodding, eyes widening, a few exhalations barely audible. The myth of Silicon Valley's meritocracy fractures, exposed by the simple truth Elijah delivers without a shout. Behind him, the screen glows with images of communities connected, lives transformed. The crowd leans forward, phones raised, capturing the moment. The tension breaks, replaced by a swell of applause that grows steadily, a wave of recognition and hope. Elijah steps back, letting the work speak. No grand gestures, no raised voice, just the undeniable power of truth and resilience. The room holds its breath, the old order cracking quietly but irrevocably. The scene closes on Elijah's calm face, a beacon of dignity and change, as the silence before the storm gives way to a new dawn. The applause is still echoing when a rival CEO stands up from her seat near the front, her presence commanding immediate attention. She doesn't wait for the crowd to settle. "We'll fund your vision, Elijah," she says, her voice ringing out with clarity and conviction. The words cut through the room, shifting the atmosphere in an instant. All eyes move from Vincent, who has dominated every meeting and headline, until now, to Elijah, who stands at the center of this new momentum. Vincent's face drains of color. The confidence he wore like armor falters, replaced by a flicker of panic. He glances at his board, searching for any sign of loyalty, but finds only uncertainty and discomfort. Some executives avert their gaze. Others exchange glances that say more than words ever could. The old alliances, once so solid, begin to fracture in the heavy quiet that follows the rival CEO's offer. Elijah meets her gaze, nodding once. There's no gloating, no outward display of triumph, just a calm assurance that speaks volumes. The offer is more than financial backing. It's a public acknowledgement of his value, a validation of the work he's poured his life into. The crowd senses the shift, the subtle but irreversible transfer of power from those who dismissed and doubted to those who dare to believe in something better. A young developer in the audience whispers, "Did you hear that?" to her friend, hope rising in her voice. Rosa, standing at the edge of the stage, smiles with quiet pride. Jamal, watching from the back, clenches his fist in silent celebration. The camera pans across the room, capturing executives who once dismissed Elijah now looking at him with a new respect, or, for some, a dawning fear of what comes next. Vincent's hands tighten around the edge of the table, knuckles white. The empire he built on exclusion and arrogance feels suddenly fragile, the foundation cracking beneath the weight of this public reckoning. He tries to muster a response, but the moment has already moved past him. Elijah steps back, letting the crowd's reaction fill the space. The rival CEO's confident smile meets his steady gaze, a silent pact that the future belongs to those who build it, not those who try to keep it locked away. The balance of power has shifted, and everyone in the room knows it, even if they can't yet admit it out loud. Vincent's hands grip the edge of the conference table, knuckles whitening as the pressure mounts. The room feels tighter, the air thick with judgment, every eye in the audience now focused on his unraveling. His trademark posture, always upright, always in command, slumps for the first time, shoulders rounded, chin tucked. The subtle shift is unmistakable to those who have watched him dominate for years. Reporters press forward, their questions sharp and relentless. "Did you ever truly support Elijah's vision?" one asks, voice cutting through the tension. Vincent's response is automatic, but the conviction is gone. "I've always supported Elijah's growth," he says. But the words sound empty, rehearsed, stripped of the authority they once carried. The crowd senses it. Even the board members who used to hang on his every word now exchange uneasy glances. Some shift in their seats, others look down at their notes, unwilling to meet his eyes. A bead of sweat forms at Vincent's temple, sliding slowly down as he fumbles with his tie, loosening it in a rare, vulnerable gesture. The fabric that once signaled power and precision now feels constricting, almost suffocating. He tugs at it again, but the relief never comes. His hands, once steady and decisive, now tremble on the tabletop, betraying the inner turmoil he can no longer hide. A junior executive clears her throat, the sound echoing in the heavy quiet. Vincent's gaze snaps to her, desperate for support, but she looks away, her loyalty evaporating in the face of his collapse. The empire he built on exclusion and bravado now feels brittle, the foundation cracking under the weight of exposure and truth. The camera lingers on Vincent's face, a twitch at the jaw, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. The man who once filled every room with certainty now sits diminished, the quiet collapse of power playing out in every small gesture. His loosened tie hangs askew, a symbol of an unraveling legacy and the new order rising in its place. The conference room buzzes with quiet anticipation, the air thick with expectation. Elijah stands at the front, the projector casting his silhouette against the glowing screen. User testimonials begin to flash, teachers, nurses, veterans, each face telling a story of lives touched and changed. The crowd leans forward, phones raised, capturing every moment. Vincent slumps in his chair, the weight of realization pressing down. His usual confident posture is replaced by quiet defeat, eyes fixed on the screen where Elijah's app demonstrates undeniable impact. The room, once skeptical, now hums with new energy, hope, and belief. A senior investor raises a hand, voice steady but eager. "This is the innovation we need." Others nod, murmurs of agreement spreading. Elijah's calm demeanor never wavers. He lets the work speak, no grand gestures or loud proclamations. The camera pans to Rosa, eyes shining with pride, and Jamal, who clenches his fist in silent celebration. The app's success is not just in numbers, but in the faces and stories it represents. Vincent's empire, built on exclusion and doubt, crumbles quietly in the background. As the presentation ends, the room erupts in applause, not just for Elijah, but for the promise of change. The old order has been challenged and a new chapter begins, one where dignity, justice, and innovation walk hand in hand. The scene closes on Elijah's composed face, a beacon of resilience and hope, as the app's logo glows brightly on the screen behind him. The crowd's applause swells, filling the room with a sense of renewal and possibility. Elijah steps back from the podium, shoulders relaxed, but eyes sharp, knowing this moment marks a turning point. Not just for him, but for everyone who has been overlooked. Vincent's gaze falls to the floor, the weight of his misjudgment settling in. Around him, the room's energy shifts palpably, the old guard's grip loosening with every passing second. Rosa exchanges a glance with Jamal, their silent celebration a quiet victory amid the storm of change. The app's impact is no longer a promise. It's a reality unfolding in real time. The boardroom, once a fortress of certainty, now feels hollow as the senior members quietly gather their belongings. The shuffle of papers and the soft click of briefcases closing fill the room with an uneasy finality. One by one, board members stand, their faces marked by a mixture of regret, fatigue, and reluctant acknowledgement that the era they built is ending. The most senior among them hesitates at the doorway, glancing back at Vincent with an expression that carries both apology and resignation. His eyes linger on Vincent, silently conveying what words cannot. This is the end of the line. For the old ways, Vincent sits motionless at the head of the table, his hands clasped tightly, knuckles pale. The authority he once wielded so effortlessly now feels distant, replaced by a sense of isolation. The junior executives, who had always followed his lead, now exchange uncertain glances. One quietly closes her laptop, her hands trembling as she does, the significance of the moment not lost on her. As the last board member steps out, the door closes with a soft but unmistakable thud. The sound echoes in the stillness, a punctuation mark at the end of an era. The remaining staff avoid Vincent's gaze, their loyalty evaporating in the face of change. The room's energy has shifted. What was once a space of command and control is now filled with the quiet hum of uncertainty and the promise of something new. Outside, the city's life continues, oblivious to the power shift unfolding inside these walls. The camera lingers on the empty chairs, each one a silent witness to the collapse of the old guard. The scene closes on Elijah, standing just outside the boardroom, his presence a calm signal that the future will be different. The old order has crumbled, not with a dramatic confrontation, but with a series of silent exits and the slow, steady retreat of those who once held all the power. The conference hall is filled with a charged silence as Elijah steps away from the podium, the glow of the app's logo illuminating the backdrop. For a moment, no one moves. The crowd seems to hold its breath, processing the quiet force of what just unfolded. Then, slowly at first, applause begins. It starts as a ripple, hesitant claps from the front rows, but quickly builds into a powerful wave. The entire audience rises, a standing ovation rolling through the hall. Faces in the crowd reflect a mix of awe, respect, and hope. Signs that something fundamental has shifted. Vincent stands alone near the back, posture rigid, eyes fixed on the floor. The weight of his misjudgment presses down, isolating him from the collective celebration. His reflection in the glass walls fractures, mirroring the collapse of his once unshakable authority. He watches as the energy in the room moves past him, leaving him behind with the remnants of the old order. Elijah's calm demeanor remains unshaken as he acknowledges the crowd with a subtle nod. There is no gloating, no raised voice, just the quiet dignity of a man who has fought long and hard for recognition. Around him, Rosa and Jamal exchange a glance, their silent smiles a testament to the journey they've endured together. The applause is not just for Elijah, but for everyone who was ever told they didn't belong, for every idea dismissed, for every door that was closed. The camera pans to the empty seats once occupied by the old guard, now a symbol of the shifting power dynamics. The applause swells, filling the room with a sense of renewal and possibility. Elijah's app logo shines brightly, a beacon of justice, dignity, and unstoppable change. The scene closes on Elijah's composed face, the quiet strength in his eyes promising that this moment is just the beginning. The old order has crumbled and a new chapter begins, one where inclusion and innovation walk hand in hand. Vincent sits alone in his glass-walled office, the city lights casting long shadows across the sleek surfaces. The hum of the building is distant, almost muted, as if the world outside has moved on without him. His fingers tap nervously on the polished desk, the sound sharp in the quiet room. He scrolls through headlines on his phone, Elijah's billion-dollar success splashed across every screen. Former allies pass by the office, their eyes avoiding his, their steps quickening to escape the weight of his presence. The space that once felt like a throne now feels like a cage. Vincent's reflection stares back at him from the glass walls, fractured and distorted. The confident man who commanded rooms with a glance is now a shadow, his legacy unraveling in silence. He runs a hand through his hair, the gesture tired and defeated. A soft knock breaks the stillness. An assistant enters, her voice hesitant. "The board is waiting, Vincent. They want to discuss the latest developments." He nods slowly, standing, with a stiffness that betrays his inner turmoil. As he walks toward the door, the camera lingers on the empty chair behind him, a symbol of the isolation that power can bring when it crumbles. The office lights flicker, casting brief shadows that dance across the walls, mirroring the uncertainty that now defines Vincent's world. The scene closes on his silhouette disappearing down the hallway, swallowed by the quiet echo of a legacy fading away. Vincent walks down the busy city street, his presence now met with averted gazes and crossed paths. Neighbors pull their children closer, avoiding eye contact as he passes by. The once commanding figure now carries an air of isolation and regret, a stark contrast to his former arrogance. The silent rejection from the community speaks volumes about the cost of unchecked pride and systemic bias. Each step Vincent takes is heavy with the weight of his actions, the invisible walls of exclusion closing in around him. The scene captures the quiet downfall of a man who once wielded power effortlessly, now reduced to a shadow in the very world he sought to control. The camera lingers on faces turning away, whispers of judgment hanging in the air, and the subtle shift in the social fabric that signals a broader awakening. This moment is not marked by loud confrontation, but by the profound impact of collective disapproval and the slow unraveling of privilege. Vincent's journey through the city streets becomes a metaphor for the collapse of an old order, where arrogance and denial give way to accountability and change. The scene closes with Vincent pausing at a crosswalk, the traffic light turning red, forcing him to stop and reflect, a visual pause that mirrors his internal reckoning and the societal shift unfolding around him. The distant sounds of the city, cars, passing, footsteps echoing, underscore the isolation Vincent feels, a man out of sync with the world around him. A mother pulls her child closer, whispering a warning as Vincent walks by, the subtle acts of avoidance painting a picture of social exile. The camera captures the contrast between the vibrant life of the city and Vincent's shrinking presence, emphasizing the personal cost of systemic failure. As he reaches the corner, Vincent's eyes flicker with a mix of regret and realization, the weight of his past decisions settling heavily. The red light holds him in place, a moment of forced stillness that mirrors the turning point in his life and the broader cultural reckoning taking shape. The scene fades with Vincent's silhouette framed against the glowing city lights, a man caught between the past and an uncertain future, embodying the slow but inevitable collapse of an outdated system. Elijah's new headquarters pulses with energy, a stark contrast to the sterile, exclusive towers he left behind. The open floor plan is alive with voices that once went unheard, coders from historically black colleges, single mothers retraining in tech, veterans eager to contribute. The walls are covered in whiteboards filled with ideas, sketches, and community feedback, every inch a testament to collaboration and inclusion. Rosa, now CTO, stands at the center of a brainstorming session, her badge gleaming, her voice confident as she guides a diverse team through a new feature rollout. At the entrance, a sign reads, "Talent has no zip code. It's more than a slogan, it's a promise." Elijah walks the floor, greeting each team member by name, asking about their families, their dreams, their frustrations. The culture is radically different. Meetings are open, and everyone is encouraged to speak up. Jamal, who once guarded doors, now leads outreach programs, connecting the company's technology to neighborhoods too often left behind. His laughter rings out as he shares success stories with a group of interns, his pride unmistakable. A young developer, fresh out of a community college, nervously presents an idea to the group. Elijah listens intently, nodding, offering thoughtful feedback. The room responds with encouragement, not competition. The atmosphere is one of shared purpose, where every contribution is valued and every background respected. Maria, a single mom who once cleaned offices at night, now manages a project team. She glances at a photo of her son taped to her monitor, a quiet reminder of how far she's come. Her team cheers as their pilot feature goes live, the sense of accomplishment shared by all. The camera pans across the office, faces of every shade, every age, united by a common goal. The energy is contagious, the sense of belonging unmistakable. Elijah pauses by the window, looking out over the city, a quiet smile on his lips. This is more than a company. It's a home for the overlooked, a living answer to every door that was ever closed in their faces. Jamal stands in a brightly lit community center, surrounded by eager faces of young kids and teens. His security guard uniform hangs framed on the wall behind him, a silent testament to his journey. He smiles warmly, hands steady as he guides the group through the basics of coding. "Your ideas matter," he tells a wide-eyed teenager, his voice calm but full of conviction. The room hums with energy, the kind born from hope and possibility. A young girl raises her hand, hesitating before asking, "Can someone like me really make a difference?" Jamal nods firmly. "Absolutely. Every line of code you write is a step toward changing the world." The camera pans to a group of kids clustered around laptops, fingers tapping keys with growing confidence. Jamal moves among them, offering quiet encouragement and gentle corrections. His presence is steady, a beacon of support in a space that once felt out of reach. Outside, the city buzzes with life, unaware of the quiet revolution unfolding within these walls. Jamal's outreach is more than teaching. It's rewriting the narrative of who belongs in tech. A mother watches from the doorway, tears glistening as she sees her child's excitement. Jamal catches her eye and offers a reassuring nod, a shared understanding passing between them. Back at the office, Rosa checks in via video call, her smile bright as she sees the impact of their work. Jamal's voice carries through the speakers, steady and proud. "We're building something real here." The scene closes on Jamal's hands, guiding a young coder's fingers over the keyboard, a symbol of mentorship, hope, and the power of inclusion. The conference rooms of rival tech companies are abuzz with hurried conversations and nervous energy. Executives shuffle papers, their usual confidence replaced by a palpable tension. A CEO wipes sweat from his brow as he addresses his leadership team. "We need to rethink everything. Elijah's success has changed the game." The urgency in his voice is unmistakable, and the team listens with a mix of anxiety and anticipation, realizing the old strategies are no longer enough. In a hastily arranged press conference, a competitor's CEO stands before a row of cameras, speaking with forced enthusiasm. She praises Elijah's inclusive model while carefully trying to distance her own company from its exclusionary history. "We recognize the need for change," she says, her eyes darting to the reporters. "Innovation thrives on diversity." The words sound rehearsed, the applause polite but thin. The pressure to adapt is real, and everyone in the room feels it. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of the office, a young black developer watches the spectacle unfold on her screen, a knowing smirk on her lips. She's seen the company's sudden shift in tone and knows it's driven by necessity, not conviction. Her fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to build on the momentum Elijah has created. The scene captures the fragile nature of this industry shift. Hope mingled with uncertainty, progress shadowed by skepticism. Back at the original company, Vincent's office feels colder than ever, the blinds drawn tight. He watches the news with a clenched jaw, the realization sinking in that the old ways are crumbling. His empire, once untouchable, now seems brittle, threatened by the very change he once dismissed. The camera pans across a diversity summit, hastily organized by a rival firm, the agenda rewritten overnight to include talks on inclusion and equity. The CEO's nervous glances betray the pressure to adapt quickly or be left behind. The scene closes on a group of young coders gathered around a table, their faces lit by the glow of their screens and the promise of a future shaped by change. The industry is shifting, but the path ahead remains uncertain, marked by both opportunity and challenge. Elijah stands before the camera, the bright lights casting a soft glow on his calm face. The interview room is modest, a stark contrast to the grandeur of the conference halls he's recently left behind. His voice is steady, humble, carrying the weight of a journey marked by quiet resilience. "This was never about me," Elijah says, eyes steady on the interviewer. "It's about the people who've been overlooked for too long." Behind him, a mural depicts hands lifting a smartphone, symbolizing communities rising together. The camera pans slowly, capturing the hopeful faces of young coders watching from a nearby room, their eyes wide with possibility. The interviewer nods, impressed but respectful. "Your story has inspired so many. What's next for you?" Elijah smiles softly, a hint of determination shining through. "We keep building, line by line, step by step. Change doesn't roar, it grows quietly until it can't be ignored." Outside the studio, a high schooler sketches app ideas in her notebook, inspired by Elijah's words. The scene shifts to a community center where Jamal leads a coding workshop, his voice steady as he encourages the next generation. The camera returns to Elijah, who leans forward slightly, voice low but firm. "This isn't just about technology. It's about dignity, opportunity, and the power of inclusion." The segment ends with Elijah's calm face filling the screen, a beacon of hope and humility. The quiet strength in his eyes speaks louder than any headline. Elijah kneels beside a young coder in the bustling workspace, his presence steady and encouraging. The girl, no older than 12, frowns at her laptop, her fingers hovering uncertainly over the keyboard. Elijah leans in, his voice gentle but confident. "Don't rush. Every line matters. Build it one step at a time." The girl nods, determination flickering in her eyes as she begins to type, her confidence growing with each keystroke. The room is alive with energy. Kids of all backgrounds clustered around tables, sharing ideas, troubleshooting bugs, and celebrating small victories. Jamal moves among them, offering high fives and quiet words of support. Rosa leads a group discussion at the whiteboard, her laughter ringing out as she encourages the shyest participants to share their thoughts. The sense of community is palpable. Every child here knows their ideas are valued. Elijah watches the young coder's progress, his mind flashing back to his own childhood. Late nights spent learning alone, his questions dismissed by teachers, who never saw his potential. Now he makes sure no one in this room feels that same isolation. "You're doing great," he says, pointing to a clever solution the girl just wrote. She beams, pride lighting up her face. A parent stands in the doorway, tears in her eyes as she watches her child thrive in a space that celebrates difference instead of punishing it. Elijah catches her gaze and offers a reassuring nod, silently promising to protect this environment of encouragement and growth. The camera pans across the room, capturing moments of collaboration and joy. a group debugging a tricky problem together, another cheering as their project finally runs. Elijah's mantra echoes in the background. Build line by line, reminding everyone that progress is made in small, steady steps. As the session ends, the young coder hugs Elijah, whispering, "Thank you for believing in me." Elijah smiles, knowing this is the real legacy. A generation empowered not just to code, but to dream, to lead, and to change the world, one line at a time. Elijah's old employee badge hangs framed on the wall of his new office. The faded visitor sticker still visible, a quiet reminder of the barriers he once faced. He traces the edges with a finger, the weight of the past mingling with the promise of the future. The badge is more than a keepsake. It's a silent witness to the journey from being overlooked to becoming a leader who reshaped an entire culture. The office buzzes softly around him, a vibrant mix of voices and laughter from a team that reflects the diversity he fought to bring in. Outside the window, the city lights twinkle, a backdrop to the transformation unfolding within these walls. The atmosphere is alive with possibility, every conversation and collaboration a testament to the progress made. Elijah turns from the badge to watch his team collaborating, their faces lit by the glow of computer screens and shared determination. Rosa, now CTO, leads a brainstorming session, her voice steady and confident as she encourages bold ideas. Jamal moves through the room, offering encouragement and support, a mentor to the next generation. The sense of belonging and mutual respect is unmistakable. He speaks softly to a young coder nearby. This badge isn't just a piece of plastic. It's a reminder that where you start doesn't define where you can go. Keep building, line by line. The young coder nods, eyes bright with hope and determination, inspired by the journey that badge represents. The badge, once a symbol of exclusion, now stands as a testament to resilience and change. It captures the arc from being dismissed to becoming a catalyst for a new, inclusive era. Elijah's gaze lingers on it, a quiet smile touching his lips as he reflects on how far they've come. The scene closes on the badge's reflection in the glass, clear and unbroken, symbolizing the enduring strength of those who refuse to be erased and the promise that the future will be different for those who follow.